Okay, so I want you to forget just for a moment literally everything you were taught in high school science class about the world being made of solid objects. If we took a quantum microscope to your hand right now and we zoomed way, way in, past the cells, past the molecules, past the atoms, reality totally breaks down. In that microscopic vacuum, there are actually no solid things at all. It's just tiny quanta of energy appearing, disappearing, and vibrating. As Albert Einstein famously pointed out, what we call solid matter is really just energy that's vibrating at a much lower frequency. You aren't just some biological machine made of flesh and bone. You're actually this incredibly complex symphony of frequencies echoing through space-time. Just let that sink in for a second. Because if you were energy, what exactly is your frequency right now? If your life feels out of tune, maybe you're feeling sick or financially stressed or just carrying around this heavy sadness. It doesn't mean you have bad luck. It simply means your internal instrument is putting out a dissonant frequency. The universe, well, it doesn't speak English. It doesn't respond to what you say, or honestly, even what you do. It responds to what you vibrate. The whole law of attraction thing, that's really just a secondary effect of the primary law of vibration. So welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going on a really fascinating journey into the forgotten laws of spiritual physics. We're going to learn exactly how to actively modify your base frequency from the inside out so that reality just reorganizes itself around you without all that exhausting effort, kind of like iron filings obeying a magnet. Here is our game plan for today. We'll start with the scale of consciousness, then move into programming your internal frequency, navigating collective energy fields, alchemizing your hidden power, the law of circulation, and finally activating the miracle frequency. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the scale of consciousness, mapping your vibration. So imagine being dropped into a pitch black jungle without a map, right? That is exactly how most people wander through their entire lives. If you want to master your vibration, you absolutely need an energetic GPS. Now, Dr. David Hawkins actually discovered that every emotion and state of being has a measurable vibratory frequency, scaling from 1 all the way to 1,000. And the absolute most critical turning point on this entire map is the number 200. Keep in mind, this isn't a normal scale, it's logarithmic, meaning even a tiny shift in your consciousness creates a massive, massive ripple in your energy. Level 200 is the threshold of courage. Just by being honest about where you are and taking radical responsibility for your life, you instantly cross this line into positive energy. Anything below 200, that is the realm of what we call force. This is where apathy, fear, and anger hang out. Down here, life is just hard. Your energy is constantly drained, and you literally have to push and fight just to survive. It's the ultimate victim mentality. But once you get above 200, now you're in the realm of power. This is where creation, love, and joy live. Up here, life flows. You aren't pushing anymore, you're attracting. So your number one goal every single day is to fiercely protect that baseline, making sure your absolute worst days never dip below that critical 200 mark. Moving on to section 2, programming your internal frequency, tuning the inside. Once you actually know where you are on the map, you really need to understand how your daily inputs, like your words, your food, your focus, are literally programming your baseline reality. Have you ever looked into the science of cymatics? It's mind-blowing. Back in the 1960s, Dr. Hans Jenny demonstrated that when sound vibrations pass through sand, they instantly organize that sand into these perfect, complex, geometric shapes. Well, your body is about 70% water, which is a flawless conductor. So every single time you speak, your internal dialogue is acting as a frequency wave, actively structuring your cells into patterns of either health or total chaos. Your words aren't just describing your life, they are generative. Whenever you say, "I am," followed by anything, you are literally rewriting your own biological software. And it's definitely not just your words, it's what you're consuming. Normal nutrition counts calories, right? But vibrational nutrition counts light. High vibration foods, things like fresh raw fruits and structured moving water, are absolutely packed with biophotons. They're literally feeding your cells light. On the flip side, and this is super fascinating, when you look at processed foods, sensationalist news, or alcohol, the word alcohol literally translates to body-eating spirit, these things act as heavy data. They totally steal your energy because your body has to work overtime to process that chaotic, low-vibe information. If you want to raise your calibration, you just have to stop consuming vibratory junk. We also have to talk about the absolute loudest noise out there right now, cheap dopamine. Constant scrolling and the nonstop digital pinging completely fragment your focus, and they anchor you in this really low vibration of anxiety and lack. Doing a dopamine fast, actively cutting out screens and artificial stimuli, recalibrates your brain. Now, it feels a little uncomfortable at first, for sure, but the silence clears out all that static. It lets your brain finally shift into theta waves, which is that amazing state of waking dreams and pure genius. That is where you can actually tune into the frequency of abundance. Which brings us to Section 3, Navigating Collective Energy Fields, Tuning the Outside. So what happens when you step out of your house? You've probably noticed this. If you spend an afternoon with people who do nothing but complain, you leave feeling totally exhausted. It's not in your head. This is the physical law of entrainment. Your biological oscillators, like your heartbeat and your brainwaves, will naturally try to synchronize with the dominant frequency in the room just to save energy. This is exactly why sheer willpower almost always fails when you're in a toxic environment. Your biology is automatically syncing to it behind the scenes. So the big question is, how are you interacting with the room? Are you a thermometer, just passively reading the temperature and letting the bad vibes drag you down? Or are you a thermostat? A thermostat sets the temperature. It puts out a signal that is so strong and so incredibly coherent that it forces all the chaotic energy in the room to align with it. If you want to protect your frequency, you can't just absorb. You have to actively project your own high vibration. And this ties perfectly into something called an egregore. Egregores are these autonomous, collective thought fields that get created when millions of people focus on the exact same fear or outrage. Think of a massive political scandal or economic panic. These collective entities literally feed on your emotional reaction. If you get mad and fight them, you feed them. If you blindly agree and panic, you feed them. The absolute best shield against a negative egregore? Benevolent indifference and humor. A genuine laugh is such a high, light frequency that it acts like a joyful escape hatch, instantly severing your power cord to that collective fear. All right, Section 4, Alchemizing Your Hidden Power, the Deep Alchemy. Sometimes to find our most potent fuel, we have to look at forces we usually ignore or worse, just waste. One of the single most powerful forces available to us is sexual energy. Napoleon Hill talked about this a lot. He noted that history's most successful people learned how to alchemize this biological drive into pure creative genius. It's a three-step process. First, conservation, actually retaining this vital force instead of throwing it away on cheap digital dopamine. Second is circulation, using your breath to physically move that intense energy from your body up into your brain. And third, investment, taking that literal nuclear fuel and directing it straight into building your business, your art, or whatever your big goals are. Deep alchemy also means we have to integrate what Carl Jung famously called our shadow. Think about trying to hold a giant beach ball underwater. It takes a massive, exhausting amount of effort, right? Well, that is exactly what repressing your negative emotions does to your vital energy. True high vibration isn't about toxic positivity. It's about recognizing that hidden anger or fear, having a conversation with it to get the wisdom out of it, and then just accepting it. By simply letting that beach ball pop up to the surface, you instantly get all that exhausted energy back. And that's how you achieve real heart coherence. Let's look at Section 5, the law of circulation, money as an electrical current. So, how does all this internal energy stuff actually apply to your wallet? Well, look at the Dead Sea in the Middle East. It takes water in, but it has zero outlet. It just hoards everything. And because of that, it's completely toxic and lifeless. Now contrast that with the Sea of Galilee right next door, which has an inlet and an outlet, and it is absolutely teeming with life. Money is an electrical current. The word is literally currency. It's meant to flow. If you block the outlet with stinginess, or you're just terrified of spending, you break the circuit. The universe literally stops sending you wealth. You have to give, tip, and spend with the exact same gratitude that you have when you receive. Finally, Section 6, Activating the Miracle Frequency, the masterpiece. Okay, we made it to the summit. We've cleaned up our hardware. We're protecting our energy. We know how to circulate value. Now for the ultimate reality creation technology, anticipatory gratitude. See, most people use gratitude totally backwards. They sit around waiting to see the money or feel the health before they allow themselves to be thankful. But in quantum physics, if you're waiting to see it first, you're just constantly emitting the vibration of, I don't have this yet. Anticipatory gratitude means feeling that intense, overwhelming emotion of thankfulness way before the event ever happens in physical reality. This literally tricks your subconscious and the quantum field into believing the event has already taken place. It forces reality to collapse time and match your brand new vibration. When you step back into the real world today, it's going to be dense. It's going to be super noisy. But you have a choice to make. Are you going to be a mirror, just passively reflecting back all the chaos, fear, and scarcity that's running rampant around you? Or are you going to be a tuning fork? A tuning fork doesn't fight the noise, it doesn't argue with it, it just holds its own pure, perfect note. And it holds it so powerfully and consistently that all the molecules around it have absolutely no choice but to harmonize and fall into order. You are meant to be that tuning fork. So, you've got the instruction manual now. You aren't just existing in the universe exists within you. You are the instrument, and you're the musician. So I'm going to leave you with one final, incredibly important question to chew on. Are you ready to take radical responsibility for your frequency, stop playing the music of fear, and finally start playing the music of creation?